Good morning, YouTube. I said I'm gonna start doing a coffee talk at 7 a.m. on Monday and Fridays, and it would be live. And today our topic is gonna be energy, and I'm gonna give people a few minutes to get in here. I think my watch is slow by about 3 minutes because when it beeps, it lets me know the change of the hour, and I was a few minutes late. So I hope people don't think that I'm not gonna come in here. And if this doesn't seem to be productive, then oh well, we'll just try something else. But if people are interested in holistic questions and how energies affect you and how to heal your body, feel free to join in, ask questions anytime. So let's see. I have some really good things that I wanted to point out today about energy fields and how the energy that we are around, people we are around, things that are said, everything around us can affect us for good or evil. It can affect us positively or negatively. Let's see. Here we are. So energy medicine is actually a whole field of medicine that most people don't have access to because it is not covered by insurance. It is practiced a lot, you'll hear me say, in sports medicine. It is something that when you get into a higher tax bracket, that a lot of people use and have access to because they can pay for it themselves. But it is definitely a real thing that most common people don't understand or have access to. So in practicing holistic medicine or holistic healing, the energies that you're around affect your body, and it can be anything from a spoken word, which God backs this up. This is not contrary to the Bible, it backs up the Bible. Energy medicine is something that, or energy itself, let me just put it that way. Energy, your body's frequency, anything that in your surroundings. It can be herbs that you take, it can be a medicine that you take, it can be a prescription medicine that you take. It's going to affect you in a positive way or a negative way, or sometimes both. But energy medicine is just now becoming popular, just now being talked about on places like TikTok and YouTube, but it's real, and I wanted to read y'all some very interesting facts. Energy medicine has been actually studied here since the late 1800s in America. Energy medicine was studied by Harold Saxon Burr at Yale University. He started investigating energy fields. Then Albert Abrams became a professor of pathology at Cooper College in 1893. He was elected vice president of the California State Medical Society. And in 1916, he published new concepts in diagnosis and treatment, which described electronic reactions. So again, they're using it in sports medicine, they're using it in higher tax brackets. We don't have access to it because it's not something that the United States or the FDA acknowledges, but it is its own field of medicine. According to Abrams' theory, one could cure disease by transmitting back to the diseased tissue the same subtle vibrations or the vibratory rate it was transmitting. Just like a tuning fork, just like someone tunes a guitar or a piano, and they have to have that resonance that goes out in order for the other item to pick it up, to tune. That's how a lot of people are using it in sports medicine, cancer treatment. Like I said, it's people in higher tax brackets, but they are able to even cure diseases. Now, don't take this as medical advice. What I'm mentioning here is being used, but I can't say that it's used to treat, cure, prevent any disease. So disclaimer, but you need to know that it is actually its own field of medicine. So interestingly enough, a lot of us have unwittingly, we don't know that we have endured traumas that have affected our energy. And so we may not feel like, we're loved, or we may not feel like exercising. We may be tired. Our perceptions may be off. We may take offense at things easily, and it can be due to our energy fields being off. So you have 7 chakras. You also have your Chinese meridians. And did you know the meridians actually can be validated by an MRI? So in Korea, they started doing studies to basically prove that things like acupuncture and the need to clear your energy fields were factual, and they were able to prove that in the Chinese meridians you have an electrical system, and you have more blood vessels, and you have also more pores that run along those meridians so that your body can absorb or release energy. So it's basically a form of electricity that you put off, and it's not nonsense. It can be seen or unseen, just like the electricity that you're able to pick up, or the waves that you're able to pick up for your phone. They're not seen, and that's the best way to describe to someone how energy can be taken in and received or sent out. But so let's go back to the 7 chakras. If your chakras are out of balance, some people say out of alignment or whatever, your energy fields are not able to function at optimal levels. And then you start, and they are guided on emotions. So when you look at physical health, like a broken arm, that's a fact. The arm is broken, and it will heal itself. Your energy fields are more not of the physical, but of the emotional. And when they get out of balance, you will feel sick. You will, again, have off thoughts. You will not, you don't desire or have the energy to get up and go do something healthy, work out. And so keeping your energy levels in balance is very important for your overall health, even though it's something that you can't see. Being around and being in recovery is something that taught me, if you look at any recovery or addiction kind of program, you'll see that you have to give up people, places, and things that are toxic to you. Oftentimes they're referring to people that would encourage you to do something wrong, or people that are enablers or things like that. But when you're talking about your emotional energy, you have to do the same thing. If you do not, if you've applied that same concept of toxic people, places, and things to every part of your being, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, addiction, any of that, you are only going to better your health all the way around. I feel like God wants us to live at optimal levels. He wants us to be healthy, body, mind, and spirit. But you can't be healthy in a toxic environment. Just like you can't be an alcoholic drug addict in that toxic environment where people are doing those things. You also can't be healthy emotionally in a toxic environment. That could be a family setting, a friend setting. You'll often hear people in certain work settings say they're stressed because of whatever's being put on them. If it is a truly toxic and not just stressful environment, you can't keep your health up. It affects your health in so many ways. A lot of people who have toxic families, toxic environments that they're conditioned to accept through religion, through this is how it's always been done, this is what you're expected to do, promises of promotions, you may stay at a job, promises of future whatever, you may allow people in your circles to do things, and you may have to be in some places for a certain time, but it will affect your body. Once your energies are affected, your health is affected. Let me let you in on a little, this is something that you can look up yourself. It is called Energy Medicine. That's a book. And it basically talks about, American scientists wrote this book. They also attended a meeting and sponsorship for the Fetzer Foundation. He was actually, look up Fetzer. He wrote the book Energy Medicine Around the World. He also was, I think it was the Detroit Lions, or I don't know. He was the owner of one of the professional, no, it was Suri Vanan. I'm sorry. Suri Vanan wrote the book. but he worked for the Fetzer Foundation, who Mr. Fetzer, he was the, that's how it got into sports medicine, energy medicine, basically. He was the one who was able to to get it into sports medicine first. Toxicity makes the lymph stagnant and clogs up the liver as well. Based on, yes, it does. It does. I guess before I'm going into the actual physical, what it does to your body, I'm talking about how it gets in. One of the number one ways in which it gets in, and kind of giving a preface, because a lot of people hear, things like energy and they assume it's kind of hokey pokey. If you are gardening and you're outside and you're touching the ground, you're touching your flowers, your herbs, those things are putting off a frequency that will actually boost positivity, peace of mind, and encourage good flows of energy. If you are around toxic people, they can tear up those energy fields. And I had something that I had notes, and every time I do one of these little coffee talks, I'm gonna add notes or bring my notes, because I can go off on tangents and I can get sidetracked. But yes, you're absolutely right. The physical effects are things like gut issues, migraines. For women, when their emotions or their chakras are out of balance, they normally gain weight. And now we have this abundance of women overweight and with thyroid issues, that if they understood where those original traumas came from and could balance their chakras and take the necessary steps to get their bodies back healthy, you can reverse anything in your body unless it goes past that biological point. You have a biological point that's measured from 1 to 6. Once you get past the 4, it's hard to correct. So once you end up with, say, cancer, it can be reversed, but it's very hard to. We all know there are people who have survived cancer, but it's very hard to. But there are certain things that are much easier to reverse, like thyroid imbalances, menopause problems. We all know our body will heal a broken bone. It can heal in other ways too. Diabetes is one. But women will end up heavy set. They'll end up with hip problems and back problems. For some people, it'll be throat and heart problems, and it depends on the type of traumas that they've endured, where their energy fields are affected and where their disease settles. You can actually become diseased based on your surroundings. Energy exhaustion is something that a lot of people in America experience, and it's due to toxicity around them, not just people, but the food they eat, the air we all breathe. I've said this before and I'll say it again, more people die of lung cancer from grief. I mean, lung cancer is so prominent in our country. It's the #1 killer of both men and women. And most of the people who die of lung cancer don't even smoke. Yes, people who smoke die of lung cancer, but there's a lot of people that also die of lung cancer, and they got it due to grief. Grief settles in the lungs. And I experienced grief this past year and had to figure out what is going on. Not only was I coughing a whole bunch, my teeth were deteriorating, and it wasn't until I started studying holistic medicine, your systems, and how they are affected, that I realized the deterioration of my teeth was due directly to the grief that had settled in my lungs. And once I addressed it, my teeth do need to be filled, but they're not hurting, they're not deteriorating. A lot of people have used things to help their teeth when they're deteriorating to rebuild mineralization, rebuild the enamel. Might have done it on their own, simply by clearing out the grief that had settled in my lungs. But yeah, it definitely affects your physical body. And there is a book that I wanted to mention if anybody was interested. So your body is made up of water. And IKEA, let me give you a good example. IKEA did, they used a plant. So we know that a lot of plants, people, living creatures with flesh are made up of water. Water holds on to the resonance of anything put out there near it. So IKEA did an experiment, and they put a plant in the front of one of their showrooms. They, to practice, had people talk negatively to the plant. The plant started to wither and die. Then they had someone come in and talk positively to the plant. The plant began to grow. And I know there's been experiments with plants and playing classical music for them. David said that the stars used to sing, possibly before the flood and the gates and the windows of heaven broke up, and you had that surrounding of more of a greenhouse. The resonance of light had the ability to put off sound, so you could actually hear a humming of the stars. So the same thing goes for words. Let's see, mine's in my thyroid and my hips, lower back. Yep, like, yes, okay. Okay, so Heather, if you know that your energy fields have been out of balance, are you around a holistic practitioner that you could see to help you clear that out? Because it's not hard to do. It's just finding someone who knows how to do it. Until then, you can address the physical issues. There's a lot of ways. One of the best ways is meditation. Another way is and they have proven that this works. Well, you can hit me up. You can hit me up at Missy's Naturals, and you can hit I do holistic counseling. You can hit me up there. I think you can, it says contact us. It'll email me directly. But another thing you can do is start thinking yourself healthy. Mind over matter. There is nothing out there that, if it hasn't crossed that biological field, and even some people have been able to do it with harsher chronic illnesses, but you can think yourself healthy. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of diligence, discipline, practice, but meditation and thinking, only putting positive in to heal those things. But here's the frequency of words. Listen to this. And a lot of people in our country do not realize how they affect their spouses, their children, but they think that they are able to say things that don't hurt, but that is not a fact. So the frequency of words, and the Bible backs it up. The tongue has the power of life and death. Those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18:21. In the book, Hidden Messages, and remember, our body is made up of water, so it's the majority of it's water. So we pick up the frequency or the resonance of the words said around us. So when things like anger or you're this, whatever, you're that, how people will tell their kids, you're not, and basically it's putting out the idea you're not good enough, you're not trying hard enough, you're not this, you're not that. When those words hit the water in your body, the water molecules will begin to deteriorate. They will begin to form a mutated pattern, okay, which brings on disease faster. The water has a memory, and it will carry within it our thoughts, our prayers. So another thing is to pray out loud, and the Bible makes that very clear. I pray the Psalms out loud. As you yourself are water, no matter where you are, your prayers will be carried into the rest of the world and also be absorbed by your own body. So Masaru Emoto has a book called The Hidden Messages in Water. And you can speak goodness, power, and life, just like the Bible says, over your body to heal itself. Not that I'm saying don't see a doctor. Not that I'm saying that if you have, diabetes, thyroid, or whatever, if you need medication, if you need to see a physician for all that to get it into alignment, you need to do that. But as you are healing from whatever issue, you can do both. You can see an allopathic doctor and a holistic physician or practitioner, because in order to really heal or to cure, which those words aren't even allowed to be said, which should be a huge red flag. When our own FDA says that you're not allowed to cure, that ought to be a red flag. Yeah, it takes so long to heal from trauma. It doesn't matter what the trauma is. If it has affected you physically, you can expect for it to take over a year to heal from. And that is everyday consistent effort. Some people will, like I took on working out every day. I took on praying out loud every day. I took on my certain things that I could do where I was. Some people can't do that. But really and truly, because you are a whole person, you want to address it in every single way. You want to address it spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And a lot of the times it comes down to, okay, I'm working on my healing. I've done X, Y, and Z. Maybe I'm dealing with an addiction and I got help. Maybe I'm dealing with a broken leg and I saw a doctor and got a cast, whatever it is. And we deal with the physical first, and then we step it up and we have to realize, oh, wait a minute. I'm on a healing path here. And the people around me are not supportive, or maybe the job that I'm in is causing me more stress than I can afford, so I might need to look for another job. Whatever it is, you have to make the changes that are necessary for you to heal. And a lot of the times, people will start out on healing from something, like let's say an addiction, and then their eyes will be opened as they grow. And I have a friend of mine, and I'm not going to say her name, but as you begin to grow, and it can happen a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, you begin to understand where your addiction actually sprung from. And it may be, and it could be an addiction of overeating, it can be an addiction of drugs, it could be porn, it could be gambling, it could be drinking. There's a lot of different addictions. Some people end up in rehab for it or in jail for it, and others don't, because it's more of a okay or acceptable addiction in our society, but it's still wrong. Okay, it still tears up our body, our mind, and our spirit. So as you go through healing, whether you're healing from a broken leg or an addiction, you're going to start trying to heal your body, start trying to heal your mind. You're going to learn more, you're going to grow more, you're going to have more experiences, and you're going to realize, wait a minute, on this healing journey, I may need to do some things to get myself to the next level. I may need to cut out some toxic people. I may need to look for a different job. I may need to take up walking. There's going to be different changes in your particular situation that you'll need to make for your own betterment. And, I'm a firm believer in, now that I know it's proven science, that the frequency of words hurt people, and that the things other people can do. I have one particular daughter who is just like me. Walk into a room, can read it, don't have to say a word, already know people's intentions, already can see through the bullshit. As you grow spiritually, you can also read people. And when you're around those people that are affecting your energy, you have to cut them off. You have to limit your time with them. You have to step back and say, that's not good. And I did not know that it was factual. I just knew I felt it. And I think a lot of people can say, I felt this from a person. I felt this from what they said. But now that it's backed science, yeah, it's just as much as like shooting up heroin. If I know shooting up heroin is going to tear up my body, which I don't shoot up heroin, never have, but that's just an example. It's just like that. If you know taking that in is going to tear you up emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever, and you still allow it, you have to take accountability for your actions, and you have to cut it off. And it's very odd now that they are able to prove all this. A lot of people have suffered childhood traumas. A lot of people have suffered different physical traumas, and they're looking at, how did I get into this situation? And they're trying to make changes for the better. And as they do that, they have to limit whether, you want to drink water instead of Coke, right? Okay, so you're wanting to limit the things that are not good for you and put more things that are good for you in. That's your surroundings as well. I'm just reading your comments, Heather, sorry. Does anybody else have any questions? I found it very cool that there was actually a resonance machine that you can, and you can even do body testing. You do not have to have a machine. You can put particular items or people near someone and test to see if it will have a positive or negative effect on their energy levels. Isn't that crazy? As I study more and I learn more, I'm like, okay, now I understand a lot of what I've experienced. The biggest issue is a type A personality. Feeling, oh yeah. I used to be like that. I think a lot of people automatically have negative thoughts, but I used to be like that. I never wanted to sit down. I never wanted to do anything that did not seem productive, and I'm still very much like that. It's not, think of that as a positive. Think of that as something that you can use to your benefit until you can find other ways to cope. So turn every negative into a positive. That's a big one too. So there are some situations we can't do anything about. There are some situations we can't change. Turn it into a positive until there's another option. Let's say, you might, what are some ways in which you can use your type A personality to your betterment, to your family's betterment? So, instead of, a lot of people end up in our age group with ADHD due to past traumas or PTSD. So what is a way that you can use, you can channel your anxiousness, because really and truly that at the bottom of it is anxiousness. Find a way to channel your anxiousness to do good for you. So maybe you could go for a walk. Maybe you could get on a treadmill. I do that. That's kind of my thing, as I like to get on a treadmill. Or I really prefer to run outside, but it's not always good weather. So find a way to channel that energy and make sure you're giving yourself me time, self-care, also using that energy to channel it into a good, positive, productive way to be beneficial to you. So go for a walk, plant some flowers, listen to classical music while you make dinner. Channel that type A personality into something positive for you. If you're type A and you like to be organized, I make lists of everything I have to do. I make goal lists. So if you have a certain time slot that or if you can fit it in, schedule you time. Schedule a way to get out some energy to focus it on you. Yes, I'm a very good multitasker. I had 8 kids in the house at one time. Yeah, multitasker. Yeah, that's a type A personality. And we feel like and sometimes we're spinning our wheels. We're not necessarily being productive at any one thing because we're so scattered. So check yourself on that. Am I so scattered that I'm not being productive on any one thing because I'm letting this thing go to focus on this thing? And make sure, if you are a good multitasker, things are going to come into your day that you have to handle on a dime. But try to make those lists and prioritize yourself and your health on that list. Another good thing that I've heard of is that if you're in a stressful environment, for whatever reason, you can limit your time on that. Schedule a certain amount of time for that. I actually had a counselor at one time, and he was talking about coming out of an alcoholic family. And if he was around his alcoholic family for too long, it made him feel a certain type of way. And he may want to join in on things that he felt like were negative, not necessarily drinking, but maybe gossiping or just things that seemed to weigh on his soul. So he would limit his time around his family to 30 minutes. That's it. Because he knew if he stayed longer, it would affect him. And so I know it sounds silly, but prioritizing yourself and how much you can be around toxicity, that was a really smart move. He had no idea, he was just a counselor, he had no idea that particular move that he made was for his betterment. He was still around his family, but because they were toxic and because of what the words that came out of their mouths, he said, affected his energy level. He knew it. He didn't study it in any type of holistic school. He just felt it. And we can oftentimes feel that. So make sure you limit the amount of time that you are around toxicity. That will help. That's a part of getting your energy levels back up. Your chakras can be balanced. They can be brought back into balance. If your throat chakra is off, that is a sign that people have wounded you with their words. If your heart chakra is off, that is a sign that people have wounded you emotionally, that it's affected your heart. Your heartstrings can actually be, your ligaments will actually loosen. You can actually get heart disease. Prioritizing, yeah, makes me feel guilty, and the smart me knows I deserve taking me time, but the not so smart me says no way. I was raising a lot of children and homeschooling, and my kind of me time was in the garden at one point in my life. So that was my me time. Now I'm not in that situation, so my me time is at the gym, or my me time is reading or reading my Bible or something like that. So that's my me time now. But if I think that women, especially because they take on so many tasks for their family, for the job, for this, that, and the other, if you will prioritize your me time, you're also much less likely to feel like you've been taken advantage of when you were self-sacrificing and shouldn't have been going too far anyway, especially a type A personality that multitasks, because you can look and say, oh, I gave and I gave and I gave and I gave, and it was not acceptable, or it was not enough, or I feel like I gave myself away in a lot of ways. And in order to prevent that, it's not necessarily anyone else's fault that you gave that much. You have to be accountable for your own actions. You gave too much on your own accord. So make sure that you prioritize that me time. Yeah. It is 7:36, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here because I have some children that I want to go pick up today, and I have some things I have to do before I head that way. Oh, I want to tell y'all something. So I'm doing this fun thing, and it may go nowhere, but I'm super excited about it because I think it will. I hope it will. My end goal is to win the cover of Hers magazine. Miss Health and Fitness is Hers magazine is doing a competition. The voting starts on May 6th. So they're basically looking for a people's choice. So being on social media, you have the opportunity to have people that are around you and support you through social media go onto their website and vote for you starting May 6th. Now, there's thousands of women out there that are doing this. So, and I think it's like 50 cents to vote, but the proceeds go to Wounded Warriors. So who cares if in the end you win, the proceeds go to a good cause. However, if you do win, you win the cover of the magazine and $20,000, which I would use to open my store. I'm dying to open a clinic and store to see clients in person. And the area in which I live in is perfect for that. It's a goal that I set for myself towards the end of last year. So it's one of the goals that I'm gonna hit. That is a goal that I want. And if I were to win, that's what I would use it for. So if you are watching this live stream on repeat or in person, please do. I'm going to put the link in the description box below. Keep coming back. I'll keep putting up fun videos. I'm using 90s rap to work out to, and vote for me on May 6th because it would be awesome to say, I'm 46, I have 7 children, and I made the cover of Hers magazine for Miss Health and Fitness. All right. It is a people choice vote. So it's not about who is the most buff. It is not about who, it's about who gets the most votes. I will vote for you. What a great, thank you. Yeah. It's always wonderful to have a cause and to do something that's good for you, for the cause. So pays off for everybody and a lot of fun. I'm gonna get off here and y'all have a blessed day. Be looking for my little shorts. 90s wrap. Thank you, thank you, Heather, very much for your questions and your participation. You had some really good advice. Some really good add to the conversation. And I want to say thank you.